Here is the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness and Alpine Green. This is the vehicle that we have been waiting for the refresh on the Crosstrek. Getting extra clearance. You can add more weight on the roof rails and more unique style with water repellent interior. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to go over some pros and cons. The problem that I have with the Crosstrek and comparable rivals. Starting in the front, LED steering response headlights. That's going to be standard across all trims. LED fog lights, that's going to start on the premium and work its way up. But because this is the Wilderness, we're getting the hexagonal style that goes into the yellow for the recovery hooks. It's going to be a little bit more ground clearance too. Standard is at 8.7 inches here to 9.3 inches of clearance. The Wilderness also flares out the fenders. The glare resistant hood, the side skirt bulges out with the Crosstrek. The roof rails get the yellow with the gloss black materials. Wilderness badging on the side. When I'm thinking competition, not too many vehicles are going to be off-roadsy like this, and the Wilderness gets the more powerful engine, the 2.5 liter flat 4 that gets 182 horsepower with 178 pound-feet of torque. This engine will start on the sport trim and go up, paired to a Lineartronic CVT transmission with a standard symmetrical all-wheel drive system and a 4-wheel independent suspension. So when you add up everything I just discussed, you have a recipe of 3,500 pounds of towing instead of the standard 1,500 pounds. The roof rails, 700 pounds can be put on top of it, and you're achieving 25 mpgs for the city and 29 mpgs for the highway. The Wilderness goes up another notch. 17-inch matte black wheels. These are all terrain, which I would hope you would put this vehicle to use to do that, because that's what this car is meant for. The rugged terrain, in which when we're looking at comparable competition like the Mazda CX-50, it's a longer vehicle and you're getting the same towing capacity with this. This is going to get better MPGs because it's not a turbocharged engine, and you could put more luggage on top of the roof rails. As for the Jeep Compass, the Trail Sport, towing's at 2,000 pounds. This already beats it. Going to Hyundai Tucson, get the XRT, and towing is still less than this. So you have everything encased in one package. LED C-structure taillights, the bumpers lifted up with the Subaru badging, yellow for the recovery hooks, and any other competition like Honda and Toyota. They're not going to offer what this vehicle can conquer at an MSRP like you get with the Crosstrek. Quick release, going into 20 cubic feet of storage. It does sit up higher because of the extra ground clearance, but you're getting 0.1 cubic feet more of storage. Bottle holders, bag holders, that's going to be on both sides. All-weather floor mats with the Wilderness badging underneath. Gets a spare tire, and you have to turn on the lights. It's not LED. Split fold the rear bench. I'm tall, I'm going to do it in the back. Otherwise, you got to go to the back door at a 40-60 split, increasing cargo to 54.9 cubic feet, which is 0.2 cubic feet more than any of the other trims. Six-way manual adjustment for the driver and passenger. This is the StarTech weather repellent. You get the Wilderness badging in the seats. Cloth seats start on the base, premium cloth on the premium, and then leather is going to be on the limited trim. The Sport, Limited, and the Premium offers power seat adjustment. These are heated front seats. Headroom and leg room. The Wilderness is definitely going to be the sweet spot when you're looking to get all of the amenities. You're going to have that brush aluminum look that goes into the door panel, 11.6 inch multimedia Starlink with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM AM, FM streaming, Bluetooth audio. Put it into reverse, and we get a reverse camera with full trajectory that will expand out. I like this setup a little bit better than the prior where it had the informational display, but base is two 7-inch infotainment screens. You have to go up to premium in order to get this. If you want a moonroof, that is an option. Wireless charging pad, that is going to start as an option on the premium. The Sport gets its standard USB ports, and with this infotainment screen, whether you go the large or the dual 7-inch, they're both a bit glitchy, but you do have physical buttons, so it speeds up some of the process. The leather-wrapped steering wheel, it's heated, multi-function, and you get the yellow that's going to be inside and cross-stitch, and the gauge cluster has a digital reader that can go through an array of information for the driver, including the SI or your regular driving. The gear lever also gets a touch of the leather. 2-stage for the heated seats. The key fob for the new Crosstrek. 12-volt charger. A little bit of storage right here. This is actually pretty soft. It opens up into a deep storage pocket. It is pushed back. Kind of wish that it slid forward a bit, even though it would cover one of the cup holders. The dashboard is going to wrap into the door panels, and you'll have that same configuration with the yellow stitch, soft to touch everywhere, one touch up and down for the front windows. 6 speakers is going to be on this trim. You can option a Harman Kardon, and a large storage pocket that you can fit a flask or even a small umbrella. Back seat headroom and leg room. Storage only behind the passenger seat, USB ports, cup holders with an armrest, and the door is going to be stripped of the materials that's found in the front. So nothing here for the soft tech weather repellent, only right here where it's going to be kind of soft for your arms, with a smaller storage pocket. The floor isn't completely flat, sliding into the center. The rails are pushed up enough. Feet space isn't bad, but leg and shoulder space is still pretty good. And headroom, it's actually doable at 6'3". 9.3 inches of clearance, 182 horsepower, 176 pound-feet of torque. That's 30 horsepower more than the 2.0 flat 4 and 33 pound-feet of torque more. 4-wheel independent suspension. It feels like I'm sitting higher, and you know, this is a Crosstrek. I'm not trying to sound overly excited, but because they have given us the Wilderness Edition and they have given a little bit more power than that base engine, it makes this vehicle a little bit more lively. And check out what this Lineartronic CVT does. Now we do have all-terrain tires. It doesn't necessarily alter the driving too much, but the wind noise will be coming in. It's not going to be like a luxury driving vehicle. You're not expecting that. This is more of that off-roadsy box SUV that's lifted up. And when you're thinking the clearance that you're getting at the price that it's at, this is like a Jeep or a Land Rover at like a his and her and a brother price, meaning you could buy 3 of these for those variants depending on trims that you get. I like how large the windows are, but it doesn't feel that way on the exterior. The interior, I like the refresh design. It's more cleaned up, a little bit more simplified. The only problem that I have, like I was saying on the interior, is both systems are a little bit glitchy, which is going to take me to my pros and cons. Starting off with the pros, that we get a Wilderness Edition. The next thing that I like is how much room you have in the interior. They have maximized space and yet made it efficient for a day in and day out use, or if you want it to be a little bit more off-roadsy, you could do that with the Wilderness because you have lifted suspension. 4-wheel independent suspension. Not a huge fan of the CVT transmission, but the Lineartronic transmission does a good job. It actually feels like an 8-speed automatic transmission, so there's some pros and cons there. Subaru eyesight has been addressed. You can actually put your hand and move the rear view mirror. The prior gen, you couldn't do that. The exterior style looks a lot more athletic than anybody in class. And as for maneuverability, steering doesn't really have that much weight, so you can move in and out without too many issues. And because it's not so long of a vehicle, you can navigate through traffic relatively fine. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of hesitation whenever you're pushing the throttle or gas pedal, so that is a good thing in the sense of your day in and day out commute, because it doesn't feel heavy, and this is a smaller vehicle. Some cons is we have manual seat adjustment, but I understand we have water repellent seats and interior, so it's kind of a con and a pro at the same. But when I go into other variants in Subaru and they're offering this water repellent, I still get power seat adjustment for the driver. Another con is you don't have maximum storage, and when you're thinking off-roadsy vehicle, the door panels need to have a lot more storage for the front and the back. Both seats need to have storage behind them. No air vents in the center. But then when I'm thinking about competition, like I was saying on the exterior, there isn't really anything that can compete with the Wilderness with towing at the price that it has, plus putting items on the roof rails. Everything just goes a step further whenever you're going Wilderness, and they do that with all the Subaru lines. So I like that they've integrated it in their smallest SUV, because when you go Honda, they don't offer such a thing, just an HPD package in which it's just a styling element. When you go Mazda CX-50, get the Meridian Edition, you're at $40,000 to $50,000. I get it, you're gonna have similar capabilities, but then look at that price, how high it went up. Same thing when you're going into Toyota, tick the box for the TRD spec, you're gonna be hitting a higher price point. And for the more comparable class like Jeep, the Compass Trail Sport, it's not gonna do the same capabilities as this. Same thing with the Hyundai Tucson XRT, in which I like that we're getting off-roadsy vehicles, but Subaru is the one that can actually conquer the Jeep trails at a fraction of the price. Turn radius at more or less a stop point. It's gonna get about 2 lanes. Let's see how she does. And that's gonna take me to the big problem that I have with the Crosstrek. The Lineartronic CVT transmission, it's fine, don't get me wrong, but for me, I'm not so happy with the way the engagement comes into play in the sense of changing the ratio. It does feel like an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is great, but it likes to linger into the ratio a little bit more so, making it a little bit slower, and the response doesn't have that engagement like an automatic transmission. I like that Subaru has put the blind spot monitoring lights on the inside of the side view mirrors, so it makes it a little bit easier to see everything for safety purposes, because everything is pretty much right there. When you're thinking how small this car is, if I was to stretch my arms out, I wouldn't be able to stretch both of them out for the width. And yet the interior space, you can go on a long journey. The footwells are fine in the front in the sense of relaxing. The seats don't necessarily come out as large as I would like because I'm tall, so having manual cushion extensions would be a plus, in which they don't offer that in the Crosstrek. But anyone that's under 6 foot tall is not going to have too many issues with that. And even with it being a little bit smaller for the butt area, my knees are not necessarily in the air like it would be on a Tucson. And I can rest my knees against both of the side walls or the door panel, in which it makes it a little bit more pleasurable for a journey that's over 50 miles. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like, and I'd like to thank Subaru Lakeland for giving us this 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness for our car review.